Emma's hands hadn't touched clay in 20 years. Not since Seattle's rain drowned her confidence. Not since she buried that wild, messy joy under a lifetime of fine thanks. But when her neighbor, a barbecue legend with sauce stains on his Seahawks jersey, cornered her with a plea, "Fam, we need your magic exhibition," something cracked. Not just dry slab on her forgotten wheel. 45 years old, and here she was, knuckles deep in muck again, spinning fear into something solid. Lopsided. Emma's hands hadn't touched clay in 20 years. Not since college, when she traded a pottery wheel for spreadsheets, convinced creativity was a luxury she couldn't afford. Now, 45, her palms hovered over cool, spinning mound like a nervous bird unsure where to land. Seattle's spring drizzle blurred studio windows, but inside warmth hummed from kiln, from bodies bent over their work, from quiet camaraderie of folks who spoke more with elbow bumps than small talk. Social anxiety had always felt like wearing someone else's skin, too tight wrists, bunching awkwardly knees. But clay? Clay didn't judge shaky hands. It collapsed when she pressed too hard, sighed when she pulled too fast, forgiving every clumsy step. Each Wednesday Emma returned, sleeves flecked with slip, knuckles caked in earth. Her pieces wobbled, lopsided as a teenager's first kiss, but active, shaping something from nothing, untangled knot in her chest. By summer her shelves groaned with mugs, bowls, a lopsided vase that made her snort. When studio announced a community exhibition, her gut lurched like a carnival ride. Showing up felt like standing naked in Pike Place Market. Except here no one cared if her edges were rough. Opening night, strangers fingered her glazed swirls, murmured approval. A woman with rainbow braids bought her wonkiest bowl, cradling it like found treasure. Later, a backyard barbecue. Emma handed a neighbor a hand-thrown plate piled high with grilled corn. No spreadsheet could have calculated quiet thrill of usefulness, of belonging without performing. Will had been her first love. Then her ghost, now her compass. Clay didn't erase fear. It just gave her hands something to hold while she walked through it. Emma's hands hadn't touched clay in 20 years. Not since college, when she traded ceramics for spreadsheets and cubicle walls. But now, standing outside a sunlit studio in Seattle's Fremont neighborhood, she felt that old pull. A flyer for beginner classes had snagged her attention, a community barbecue, where she'd hovered near potato salad, avoiding small talk. 45 and suddenly craving something more tactile than keyboard clicks, she'd signed up before courage could flee. Inside, spinning wheels hummed like drowsy bees. Emma's first attempt was a wobbly disaster. Clay flopped sideways, splattering her apron. A chuckle bubbled up. So much for grace. Nearby, a silver-haired woman named Rosa smirked, fingers effortlessly guiding a vase into symmetry. "First rule, fam," Rosa said later, wiping her hands on a rag. "Clay's gotta feel your confidence before it listens." Week after week Emma returned. Kneading doughy earth became meditation. Centering clay mirrored steadying her breath before work meetings. Imperfections stopped feeling like failures. Crooked bowls had charm, just like her offbeat laugh. Rosa's crew, a mix of retirees and tech burnouts, traded glazed tips over coffee, no pressure to perform. Slowly Emma's shoulders unclenched. Then came exhibition notice. Rosa nudged her. "Enter that teal mug with thumbprint ridge. Tell your story without saying a word." Panic flared. Strangers judging my work? But clay had taught her. Fragility could hold shape if handled right. Opening night, Emma hovered near her display, pulse erratic. A woman paused, tracing mug's uneven rim. "Feels alive," she murmured. Emma's chest warmed. Later, under string lights with Rosa's arm around her, she realized. This wasn't just about pottery. It was about showing up, lopsided and proud, in a world that demanded polish. Clay didn't care about age or awkward pauses. It only asked for hands willing to try. Emma's hands hadn't touched clay in 20 years. Not since college, when life had seemed simpler, back before spreadsheets and school drop-offs swallowed her days. Now, 45, her fingers hesitated over wheel like they'd forgotten their own strength. Seattle's drizzle tapped studio window, a quiet heckler. She scowled lump of clay, willing it to obey. It didn't. First attempts collapsed. Second ones cracked. By third she almost walked out, until instructor, a no-nonsense woman with paint-splattered overalls, tossed her a fresh block. "Clay's cheaper than therapy." Fam. Emma snorted but stayed. Weeks passed. Muscle memory crept back. Centering clay became less about force, more about listening, to wheels hum, to her own breath. She stopped flinching when others glanced her way. Instead, she noticed their mugs wobbling too, their brows furrowed in same battle. Community BBQ studio helped. Nobody cared if she burnt sausages when they were all there to geek out over glaze techniques. Then came exhibition flyer. Submit your work. Her stomach lurched. Showing up was one thing, being seen was another. But that stubborn push, one that got her through PDA meetings and corporate layoffs, kicked in. She signed up. Opening night, her piece sat among polished vases. A lopsided bowl, its ridges uneven, fingerprints still visible. No masterpiece but hers. A woman lingered by it, tracing grooves. Feels alive, she murmured. Emma's chest tightened. Maybe imperfection had its own language. Maybe courage wasn't about smooth edges but showing up, cracks and all. Will kept turning. So did she. Emma's hands hadn't touched clay in 20 years. Not since college, when anxiety convinced her art wasn't worth sharing. But now, fingers pressed into cool, yielding clay, she felt something shift. A local studio's clay wheel and chill night had lured her in, promising zero pressure, just vibes. Skeptical first, she'd scoffed flyers plastered near her favorite coffee spot. Yet here she was, wrists deep in earthy sludge, surrounded by strangers who didn't demand small talk. Months passed. Misshapen bowls became smooth curves. Shaky hands steadied. Emma's kitchen shelves overflowed with mugs, each imperfection proof she'd stayed. When flyers for a community exhibition appeared, Seattle's messy masterpieces, her gut clenched. Public showcase? Nah fam. But then she pictured her pieces tucked away forever, unseen. Gritting teeth, she signed up. Day of Emma nearly bailed. Parking lot swarmed with folks lugging sculptures, laughing like this was no big deal. Her own piece, a lopsided vase glazed stormy gray, suddenly felt ridiculous. Then Will caught her eye center stage like some kind of pottery altar. Heart hammering, she placed her vase beside others, then bolted for snacks. Turns out, community BBQs breed courage. Between bites of charred veggie skewers, Seattle after all. Emma overheard murmurs. Who made that one? A woman in a paint-splattered apron pointed, hers. Before panic could win, someone snapped a pic. Flash. Then another. A local influencer, all neon hair and enthusiasm, was gushing over Emma's vase. Texture. Mood. Crowd swarmed. Skeptical dude who'd side-eyed her earlier now gaped, muttering, damn, that's actually fire. Laughter bubbled up. 45 and accidentally viral? Classic. But as cheers rose, Emma's chest loosened. Clay had been her silent ally, Will her steadying force. No more hiding. Eyes glistening, she thought. I finally belong here. Later, as golden hour lit studio, she signed up for next month's show. This time she'd skip sprint to snack table. Maybe. Emma's hands hadn't touched clay in 20 years. Not since college, when fear of judgment sent her sprinting from art studios into spreadsheets. Now 45, she stood before a spinning wheel in Seattle's rainiest spring, fingers trembling not from nerves but anticipation. Clay was messy. So was life. She leaned in. First attempts wobbled, collapsed. But muscle memory kicked in, centering became meditation, shaping a rebellion against perfectionism. Odd habit? She hummed ABBA to drown out self-doubt. Soon her tiny apartment brimmed with lopsided mugs, each flaw a badge of courage. Then came flyer. Community pottery exhibition. No experience needed. Creator hesitated. But clay had taught her cracks held character. She signed up. Setting up her booth, she spotted others fidgeting. A teen gripping a wonky vase. A silver-haired man hiding his ugly bowl. Creator grinned. Nudged her wonkiest piece forward. Mine looks like it survived a tornado. Your turn, fam. Laughter loosened room. By summer, her kitchen table hosted a rotating cast of nervous newbies. She guided hands without fixing mistakes, because art, like confidence, couldn't be outsourced. Even community BBQs got a pottery station, burgers in one hand, slip-trailing tools in other. That wheel, once a solitary escape, now spun connections. Opening night of her first solo show, Emma stood beside a sculpture titled Unfinished, Unafraid. Gallery lights glowed on fingerprints pressed into its surface. Hers, her students, strangers turned friends. No masterpiece, just proof that showing up mattered. Spin your fear into something bold. Clay's waiting.